Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
Start summer up by mixing things up with top paint and stain brands at Lowe's. Shop HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, Cabot to find the perfect pop of color or classic shade you've been looking for. And don't forget to prep your deck for the season with reliable wood stain and sealer. Now's the perfect time to complete your paint or stain project. Lowe's. All things summer, all at the right price.
What's up? It's your boy, the Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
Somebody out there deserves to be recognized. And the Men's Room knows just who it is. So to you, we say, bottoms up, sailor. You're the toast of our shot of the day.
Drink time it is, and as usual, we head to the drink desk and Stephen Throwhill to find out who we're toasting.
Yes, indeed. Today we toast the Charlotte, North Carolina Police Department. Now, this actually happened last year, but they have just now finally released some body cam footage, and they were addressing this situation again. So understand, just after 6 p.m. on July 11th of last year, officers tried to serve outstanding felony warrants on a 19-year-old guy named Trey McClendon. Now, the warrants included 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, 1 count of assault with a deadly weapon inflicting serious injury. So officers received a tip that McClendon was in a house off Andorra Drive. And they also said he'd been arrested in that same home only a few months earlier in that same year, and he was an acquaintance of the home's residents at the time. So they knew the house, they knew the guy. They get their guy. So because of his violent history, the police, they want a backup. So they called SWAT to assist in the execution of the warrants. So after several hours, they tried to attempt to communicate with him. He refused to speak to them at all. Then they released pepper spray into the house. Later, they upped it to tear gas. Finally, they sent in a robot. He's still not going to communicate. So officers finally just went into the home, kicked down the door. Yeah, he wasn't there. The sad part is the home was structurally damaged during the incident. The roof was damaged when the gas was deployed. An officer stepped through the attic, which damaged the home ceilings. The good news is they did apprehend the guy 6 days later without incident in an entirely different place. But, yeah, they spent hours out there firing tear gas, pepper spray, the robot, stormed the house like he's not here, guys, which explains why there was 100% radio silence on his end when they're out there with the bullhorns. Just come out. Hours they go through this. Damn. Yeah, he wasn't home. Anyway, they just recently had a press conference going, yeah, it wasn't our best moment, but, S happens. So we pour this booze and we drink this booze because we think it's yummy.
Yummy.
So over the tongue and down the throat to party in our tummies. Down the hola bichola.
The Men's Room presents Profile This.
And Stephen Throwhill, could you please tell everyone how Profile This is played?
I sure can, Miles. It's a simple game where we share with you a real-life news story. Something that happened right here on planet Earth. And as you listen to the story, based on the stereotypes you believe to be true of people and the decisions that people make, we'll ask you what it is you think makes the story a story. Hello, Adam. Welcome to the Men's Room.
Hola!
Hola! All right, Adam, you understand how this here game is played?
I do.
Fantastic. So you have your choice of the wonderful world of drugs. We have Bite Me. In other words, what did someone find in their food? And finally, interior decorating, where you guess the foreign object that ended up on the inside of someone.
Oh, I think we're going to go with interior decorating today.
Okay. All right, here is your story. When a woman who had been feeling progressively weaker for months finally visited an emergency room with nausea, vomiting, and low blood pressure, doctors diagnosed her as having an abdominal infection and treated her with antibiotics.
But the results of the woman's blood test showed that her liver enzymes are at a higher than normal level. And an ultrasound revealed a pus-filled cavity about 1.5 inches long within her liver. Now, by this time, the 45-year-old was in the intensive care unit with multiple organ failure. Several weeks of treatment with a cocktail of antibiotics were needed before she was well enough to go home. Now, exploratory surgery was scheduled, and it turned out the woman had swallowed a little something that somehow made its way from her digestive tract into her liver. And as I say, foreign body ingestion, it's not an uncommon problem, but less than 1% of cases does the object make its way outside of the gastrointestinal tract to another side of the body. And still, even rarer than that are cases where the object ends up in the liver. So what happened to her ends up being about 0.25% of the time that anyone accidentally swallows it. But the question is, what did end up in her liver? Was it a fish bone, a sewing needle, a toothpick, an orange seed? So fish bone, sewing needle, toothpick, or orange seed. One of these ended up in her liver.
Wow, I know, an orange seed. She was drinking a pretty cocktail.
That's where your head is at.
Okay. Was it orange seed, fishbone,
sewing needle, or a toothpick?
Oh, that's a toothpick.
You're going to go toothpick?
Yeah, feel pretty confident with that.
Adam, I'm going to say that she had a sewing needle in her mouth while she was doing something and accidentally swallowed it based on where it ended up. I just think that thing is skinny enough. So you're going to stick with orange seed?
I'm sticking with an orange seed.
All right, we're going to find out what ended up in her liver after she swallowed it. Was it a fish bone, a sewing needle, a toothpick, or an orange seed next?
That was a tease.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
Start summer up by mixing things up with top paint and stain brands at Lowe's. Shop HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, Cabot to find the perfect pop of color or classic shade you've been looking for. And don't forget to prep your deck for the season with reliable wood stain and sealer. Now's the perfect time to complete your paint or stain project. Lowe's, all things summer, all at the right price.
I'm Glennon Doyle, author of Untamed and host of the podcast We Can Do Hard Things. Each week, we talk openly and honestly about the hard things in life together with you. So join us and some of our dearest friends and greatest heroes to talk about anxiety, boundaries, parenting, infidelity, our bodies, loving and losing, all of the things that make us human. Listen to and follow We Can Do Hard Things on Odyssey and everywhere you get your podcasts.
The debauchery rolls on. You're listening to The Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. 99.9 KISW.
Category is interior decorating on profile. This woman went to the ER after having an abdominal infection.
Yeah.
Turns out I guess they had to do an MRI on her, and she swallowed something that, believe it or not, somehow ended up in her liver. So the question is, how did this work its way in there in the first place? And what was that object? Was it a fish bone, a sewing needle, a toothpick, or an orange seed?
And Adam, that is the very question that we posed to you, and yours made the most sense. He went with an orange seed, said probably drinking some kind of fruity drink, etc. Unfortunately, that is not the answer. It was not an orange seed. Miles, you went with the sewing needle, the old tried and true. You hold the needle in your mouth. Mm-hmm. We've all done that. Then somehow you adjust it. Right, and it causes problems. No, not a sewing needle. The Ted Smith. You went with the toothpick. Even said like, it seems obvious to me.
It's a toothpick.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow. Who knew?
Well, I did.
The whole goddamn thing. The entire toothpick.
Jeez. You're a toothpick guy. You ever swallow a whole one?
Not a whole one. A whole toothpick.
How much wood do you think you got in there?
You could probably build one IKEA dresser out of all the wood shavings that have ended up inside of me as a result of toothpicks.
Just checking. Now for all TV news all the time, it's time for TV Time with Ted.
And now, because your pathetic life is confined to countless hours in front of a talking box, the Men's Room presents TV Time with Ted.
All right, your choices will be Seth Meyers.
All right, Seth Meyers.
You have the Jimmies.
Okay.
But, not to confuse you too much, Jimmy Kimmel had 2 guest hosts. So it could be Anthony Anderson, or it could be Nick Kroll.
Okay.
Other than that, could be Ted Smith.
Is it Ted or is it late night?
It's right there in the title. All these guys have teams of talented writers and help them come up with their monologues each and every night. It is up to you to determine, is this an actual late-night joke and from whom? Or could it be a The Ted Smith original?
Amazon founder and weirdly jacked billionaire Jeff Bezos is going to space. The flight will only last about 10 minutes, but it's still the longest break any Amazon employee has ever been given.
Anthony Anderson.
Jimmy Fallon.
Nick Kroll.
Amazon founder and weirdly jacked billionaire Jeff Bezos is going to space. The flight will only last about 10 minutes, but it's still the longest break that any Amazon employee has ever been given.
Nick Kroll, a very funny comedian. I think a lot of people know him from The League. Mm-hmm. But he had his own show on Comedy Central for a while called Kroll Show. Go back and watch it. I mean, it is weird. It is crazy. But it's like little sketches, but they all kind of intertwine and last an entire season.
Okay. All right.
Maybe smoke weed before you watch it, too. I know he did. Over in France, the Cannes Film Festival is going on, and famous director Spike Lee is having a rough go of it after he accidentally handed out one of the biggest awards of the night first instead of last. The head of the Cannes Film Festival said that he had just hoped Spike would, quote, do the right thing.
Me too, sir. Yeah, I'll say it's you too.
Yeah, it's me. See that one, Mike? Hey, royally screwed that one up. I like it. His quote, too, is just like, yeah.
Sorry.
There's just nothing you can do, man.
Sorry.
The NCAA recently decided that college athletes can finally get paid for endorsements deals. I just hope they're products college students actually use. I don't want them sponsored by Gucci or Rolex. Do some commercials for Top Ramen and cheap weed.
Is that Nick Kroll?
Anthony Anderson.
You know, the NCAA recently decided that college athletes can finally get paid for endorsement deals, which is long overdue. I just hope they're for products that college students actually use. I don't want them sponsored by Gucci or Rolex, but do some commercials from Top Ramen or cheap weed.
You know, I credit those guys, but I guess at the end, it's probably still a lot of Fallon's writers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's off,
yeah.
but the show's still going on.
Correct.
So they're just delivering the
Kimmel's
jokes.
writers, right?
Yeah.
Or Jesus, Kimmel's writers. Right, but those are still like Kimmel's, what would be considered
I would
his
think they
shows.
all go in a room and they just brainstorm stuff, and he puts his input, and then they write stuff for him. And
Well, some of it, too, is just people email in jokes.
okay.
And they'll like pay you or give you credit for it. But yeah, I forget who. I saw some comedian. He was like, "Oh yeah, I did that for years." Like you could just email like late night talk shows, like other kind of shows, like or daytime talk shows too. And if they usually use your jokes, they got to give you credit. But sometimes the writers in those rooms will just blatantly steal your joke.
Oh, absolutely.
And you got to go to the Twitter sphere, let people know. Space Jam: A New Legacy came out this weekend. I didn't watch it.
My kids did.
Did they like it?
They loved it.
Yeah, because it's for kids.
Yeah, it's a kids' movie.
Yeah.
And somehow that's lost on critics. Like, you guys, stop. You know, my kids are, 10 and a half and 9. They thought it was brilliant. I was very glad they watched it when I was not home.
Right.
All right.
And I came home, and all they did was talk about it. I won't give any spoilers, but they told me all about it. But they were so enthusiastic and happy. I'm like, right, that's what that movie's supposed to be.
Not only
Correct.
that, but when you go back to your thing with the Cannes Film Festival, or oh God, I don't know, the Oscars for very rare. They might have animation. They might have a lot of things where a kid movie could be involved.
Sure.
But they don't have categories for that stuff. They don't have like the best children's movie of the year, anything like that. They don't have the best comedies of the year. So they can be critics, but they don't even acknowledge that these movies exist. So the idea of someone slamming something that they don't even recognize.
It's not even a realm that
you don't even recognize it as being a movie. So you shouldn't be able to give a critique on something that is really not in your wheelhouse.
It'd be like me critiquing vegetarian restaurants.
Yeah.
They would all suck because I don't like vegetables.
Well, the other thing, too, is like when the original Space Jam came out, right? What's that, in the 90s or something, right? Because, I mean, I'm a kid, right? So it's like a lot of people, too, you remember stuff with nostalgia.
Yeah,
I mean, even just think about your exes, right? Like, after a while, like, you pretty much just remember, like, the fun, like, you know why you broke up.
Sure.
But you kind of forget about all that stuff. Then if you actually, like, try to get back with them or spend a bunch of time, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Right. I'm saying these people grew up with it. And
right, so you have the fond memory of what Space Jam is to you, so it's hard, like, of course, if you're my age, if you're 40, this one will never live up to it. We're also not children.
And they did not make it for you. They did not make this for nostalgia. They made this to make money, and there's a whole group of kids that buy into it.
Yeah.
Because I paid for that movie.
Kid now would say, Michael Jordan plays basketball? I thought those were just shoes. Maybe they would get that far.
Jordan's big enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Said, yeah, the wires from drinking too much.
Well, I'm just saying, like with John Madden, I mean, he's going to be known for the game, but I mean, Christ, he hadn't actually coached anything since like the 70s.
Right. Yeah, it took,
you know what I mean?
the Raiders
you're talking
to the
a couple
Super Bowl.
generations. Like, and the other problem is that there's not a basketball player alive who doesn't reference Jordan.
Of course.
Like, everybody might have a favorite this or that, but it's pretty hard not to reference Jordan.
But yeah, so they saw Space Jam. They love Space Jam. So in spite of the critics, turns out children really enjoy the movie. We also watched Black Widow last night. That one I was down to watch.
Which one is Black Widow?
Scarlett Johansson. One of the Marvel ones.
Ah!
Megs and her sister's not too shabby either in that particular movie. But all of that said, it's exactly what you expect it to be. There's a lot of fight scenes. They're choreographed very well. There are a lot of explosions. The story is the story. There's nothing to critique. You know what it's going to be.
I think sometimes, too, that's why some of the biggest box office stuff are always going to be action films.
Yeah, movies that
Furious 12.
Yeah. What
movies that people actually want to see.
What's the old line? Like, sometimes you just want to sit there. I mean, it might be Mike's line, actually. Like, sometimes you just want to watch a stupid action film and not have to worry about anything or pay super attention. You know what I mean? Maybe you're crunching loud Doritos.
Yeah, it's because that's why Dwayne The Rock Johnson's one of the biggest actors. I mean, if you're watching one of his movies, you know it's just going to be entertaining.
Yes.
He's going to smile. He's going to beat people up.
Yeah. He actually, right. He has some movies I really like.
He doesn't do a bad job in any of them.
Yeah.
But they're dumb. And you know they're going to be dumb. That's what makes them fun.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, too, with movies. Like, I'm thinking about Pain and Gain. Mm-hmm. Right? That's him and Mark Wahlberg. Where they're, and, like, I like that movie. It has some really funny stuff. But then you're like, ugh, geez, that was a true story.
Oh, God.
You think of everything Arnold was in.
Right.
I mean, basically the same formula. Kids' movies, action movies.
Well, you know what you're getting.
Jenna Fisher, we all know her, of course, from The Office, right? She was Pam on The Office. Well, she was talking about on her podcast that she played Matt LeBlanc's wife on a pilot episode of Man with a Plan. But she got recast after they sent it for audience testing. Basically, they said, and this is a literal quote, "I don't believe Pam would marry Joey. The chemistry just doesn't work between those two."
Oh, my God. Right? So they're judging him by past characters, basically.
Right. So they had already filmed everything. I mean, we were kind of talking about this last week, but people just have a hard time seeing her not as Pam, especially with two very recognizable people, with her and LeBlanc.
But that's also how we got to know you.
No. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because you started with that. And
but when the audience sees two well-known characters from two different shows, it's hard not to be like.
Because, I mean, like, what else did you know Matt LeBlanc from? He was Joey from Friends, and that was it. Then they got a couple side gigs doing movies, but because he was Joey and Friends, same thing with Jenna Fisher, like, you're Pam from The Office. And I'm sure both of you did something before this, but to most of us, like, I did not know who she was. Same with Krasinski. Half the people on that goddamn show, to be honest. Steve Carell, I don't think I was familiar with him until he showed up on The Office.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if his movies were out yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anyone on The Office.
Was Anchorman before that? Where he played the weather guy?
That might have been, but that wasn't a huge. It's kind of weird when you go back and look at the original Anchorman. That like he's like got a bit part as Brick Tomlin. So the crazy thing about Jenna Fisher though is they had already filmed it, right? And then she's packing her bags to go to New York where they're going to start shooting it. And she said the day before she called and they were like, "Yeah, it got greenlit, but you're not in it anymore." Just because the audience.
Thanks.
Right, so Matt LeBlanc still, but they just couldn't see it.
You're too Pammy.
Right, and I was trying to think, like, I watched episodes, right, where that's where Matt LeBlanc kind of played Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah.
But Yeah, that would be. I'm trying to think of another show that had two such massive characters that could come together on it, and you wouldn't.
It came from somewhere else that you already knew.
Right. Like, I mean, I feel like, to this day, if Eric Estrada shows up somewhere, it's hard not to be like, that's Ponch.
It's Ponch, and he's nothing but Ponch. He will not be anything other than Ponch.
And he's massive, I want to say, in Mexico in
soap operas.
Soap operas and stuff.
But also think about it like this, right? So even someone like Robert De Niro, who's been playing the same role for 400 years now, they'll say, oh, he's in a comedy. I'm like, he's in a comedy, but he's still playing Robert De Niro. It could be Meet the Fockers. It could be Raging Bull. He is still roughly the same character. It's just you put something funny around him. If you did a comedy where he himself is supposed to be funny, not how he responds to things as a tough guy, but I don't think anyone would buy it. Right? It's not that you're locked into a character, but the characters you play, all he will ever do is do what he's always done.
That's why he doesn't do slapstick. Like, even in Analyze, was it Analyze this or Analyze that? Like,
whichever.
It was like he's doing a comedy role. It's like,
but it's him.
But it's him playing an ex-gangster who now needs help.
Yeah.
And you're right. And Meet the Parents, like, he is
CIA or something like that.
Right, he's still super intense at being him.
Right. So to me, it's all the same thing.
That's why it's always good when you get something you don't expect, like when Snoop Dogg does his own narration of nature shows. You know what I'm saying? They're like, now this is entertaining.
It's entertaining.
It's not that David Attenborough
but it's still
good,
Snoop.
but it's like Snoop going like, look at that giraffe.
Yeah, it is still Snoop.
But yeah, right, it's still Snoop.
Yeah.
I know y'all can't explain to me what this is. It's a pine cone, Snoop.
Oh.
Which I'll talk about. Yeah. Well, and you're right. Snoop's almost just famous now for being
Snoop.
For being Snoop. And he shows up everywhere. My favorite was still, I forget if it's the roast of somebody. It wasn't his roast.
Was it Martha Stewart? Maybe he was on that one for sure.
I just know he was already, you could tell, had been having quite a few beverages and was obviously already high. And he kept going on and on about, like, man, y'all are crazy. Got us up here getting all messed up and then getting on stage and this and that. And Kevin Hart was the host. So when Snoop gets done, Kevin's like, no, Snoop, that's you. Right. You've been the one in the back drinking and smoking the whole time. Right. Nobody made you get messed up. Right. He was like, see everybody else on the stage? They're fine. He's like, that's you, Snoop. He was just doing a thing like, y'all crazy out here doing this.
By the way, as far as actors that are hard to see beyond an initial role, and I agree with this guy's face just bugs me. We go back to The Well of Friends. He was also in Band of Brothers, which is highly rated by everyone that's seen it. David Schwimmer. They said David Schwimmer in anything. He almost ruined Band of Brothers for me.
I kind of forgot he was in Band of Brothers.
That's good. Because to me, his character Ross to me was the guy Ted on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
You're just always a little too needy and whiny, and I know it is a character, and that's how your character was written, but you executed it well enough that I really can't stand it.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
And I know he's a director now, a producer. He does a lot of good things, but if I physically see him star in something, I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I don't believe the one woman upstairs is really a bitch. Whether it's like a bitch from apartment 2C.
Yeah, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's just the name of
No, she really was.
Name of a show. I don't think it's her. Let's see. You're going to watch something tonight. I like this show. A lot of people do. That's why it's back. Third season finale of All American. Thrill, have you watched All American yet?
Not yet, Ted.
Jesus. It's like pulling teeth over here. Anything late night tonight, watch Fallon. He's got a pretty stock show. He's got Dwayne The Rock Johnson on, who we talked about. And then a musical guest I like, the Swedish House Mafia. Swedish House Mafia.
Ladies and gentlemen, come here. Come here. Thank you, Ed Sullivan. We appreciate it. You are listening to The Men's Room.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
Start summer up by mixing things up with top paint and stain brands at Lowe's. Shop HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, Cabot to find the perfect pop of color or classic shade you've been looking for. And don't forget to prep your deck for the season with reliable wood stain and sealer. Now's the perfect time to complete your paint or stain project. Lowe's. All things summer, all at the right price.
Take the next step toward the career you want, be it business, cybersecurity, healthcare, or more. UMGC can help you get there. No application fee when you apply by August 31st. Visit umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.
Men's Room returns with Miles and Thrill. Now, let's see what's happening in the real world.
All right, here we go. Missing pet tortoise is found 1 year later after traveling an entire half mile. Meanwhile, Chicago Walmart is evacuated after a huge fire in the toilet paper aisle. Florida man shotguns beer after opening it with a live alligator's tooth. Monkey breaks into liquor store and refuses to drink the vermouth. And a doctor's 6-step routine for an awesome day is all about the sleep. It's time for your headlines.
Now, it's time to hit the headlines. Here's my car.
All right, top story. We go to India, where one macaque is causing more mayhem than normal. Goodness gracious. The monkeys in the area have been terrorizing parts of the country, stealing all sorts of food and goods from the locals, but this one takes the cake, as his target was a liquor store. They've determined that he's got his taste for booze after consuming the remnants of an almost empty bottle of wine, and that's why he crashed into a liquor store and downed the now stolen bottle of Kahlua in front of the store manager.
And the whole time the monkey's like,
I respect the store clerk for at least trying. I don't know that I would. I don't know if I tried to stop him. I would just bail out of it. It's like, no, I'm not getting
my limited knowledge of monkeys, just don't mess with them.
Right. Just leave them be. They're going to do what they're going to do, man.
Hey, look, I'll just ask. In theory, could you not just kind of, like, make them leave or point something at them?
You could try, but I feel like they're...
Point what at them?
They tried to get him out of there. He been an employee twice.
Yeah.
Hard.
They kind of do what they want to do.
Like a gun.
But I mean, you can shoot him. But I think the same with a gun is going to mean anything. Like, you can shoot his ass. But I don't know that he knows it's a threat.
He's biting people? He's in a store where he's not supposed to be? Like,
well, the other problem with monkeys... See, here's my problem with the monkey. A drunk monkey in my store. So I pull out a gun to try to threaten him, right? Hoping that somehow he interprets this as a threat. If he does interpret it as a threat, just knowing the sheer speed and strength of these goddamn things, next thing I know, he's got my gun in his hand.
Oh.
Right? And he's just shooting that thing willy-nilly because he doesn't get what's going on.
I mean, I don't know, maybe get a broom. There's got to be a way to get this monkey out of your store.
I feel like if I hit him with a broom, next thing I know, the broom's in his hand.
You'd think in the area they would have their methods that they could use, but at the end of the day, if he truly wants it, they're going to do what they're going to do because they're just such a menace.
What about a tranquilizer dart?
Hit him with a tranq dart.
They live in a place where this is the problem. It's one thing if this happens once every 200 years, you go, yeah, it's the monkey thing, but... From everything in the story, like, this is not uncommon.
Yeah.
So, people get ADT security and ring cameras because, porch pirates.
Sure.
If I got goddamn monkeys stealing my booze, we need something.
You know what side I'm on, man. Take the monkey out.
Oh, I know you. Hell yeah.
I'm done with it. I ain't dealing with it.
Sounds like another job for Pet Solutions.
That's right. I'm calling up Ted. Ted, I got a macaque over here. Stealing my Kahlua.
Say no more.
On my way.
In other news, over in the UK, someone lost the most unlikely of animals, a tortoise. We wind the clocks back a year when the owner was left puzzled at how the animal could have gotten out of their sight. They keep saying that he scaled a fence. I don't know that tortoises know how to scale a fence.
Man.
I mean, chain link, maybe he can manufacture his way up there.
You're not a good pet owner.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying. He did not scale the fence. He did not buy a bus ticket.
Took him a month to get out of the yard.
Right.
It was a half mile.
You didn't even look for him. I know that took a year.
He searched for weeks before finally giving in to their fear that he would never return. Good news. Now, a year later, the tortoise was found a little over a half mile away in a garden 2 doors down.
Wait, two doors down.
2 doors down. Now, granted, they were pretty big fields that he walked through.
I know.
For a goddamn year.
And did nobody notice a tortoise that isn't theirs in their backyard 2 doors down? I feel like I know my neighbors enough to be like, this is probably their turtle.
To their credit, though, these homes had some pretty big fields out back. Now, they weren't several acres big, but they were at least a couple. So there was plenty of room for this tortoise to kind of move about. But the fact that you could probably almost see this thing from his home yard if you just got up high enough.
Trail? Yeah.
Right, exactly. You know how fast he moved? They triggered it out there. He moves at 0.00007 miles per hour.
He's not running in.
No! How do you lose that?
I was at a festival once, and outside where everybody was parking, there was a guy walking his turtle or tortoise. It was a big tortoise.
Is he walking or just standing there and it's walking?
It walks. He just kind of stands next to it. I mean, I think it was 2 or 3 days before I ever saw him inside the festival.
It took him a while to get there.
Yeah, because I was in the back by the river.
Did you ask him, like, do you regret this decision?
There's a video on Twitter that's just about as Florida as it gets. It features a group of people on a small boat out in the water with one of the men on the vessel taunting a gator that's in the water. Always a great idea. When the animal finally brings its head out and opens his mouth against the man's pestering, the man punctures the can of beer that he's holding on the gator's tooth and proceeds to shotgun.
Did you see the video?
Yes, it's absolutely stupid.
But it's so Florida. I'm like,
yes.
People gonna do what people do.
Yeah.
See,
that's how you do it.
To me, gators, I think, is another one of those things where the press really puffs them up to be this massive, oh my God, look out, they're bloodthirsty, sinister creatures that are ruled. You look at the Floridians, they screw with them all the time, especially out there on the golf course.
That's swinging them around the middle of the road.
That's a swamp dog.
On Friday, you had the story of the guy who went into like a petting zoo and grabbed one and started swinging around by its tail in the middle of the road
Exactly.
at 3:30 a.m. in the morning.
I think they're just big, stupid reptiles. I know that there was like the cunning crocodile back in the old days of lore, but no.
They're not cunning. Look, they're designed to hunt. That's what they do.
Right.
It's understood.
They hunt in the water. Mm-hmm. And that is it for headlines. With that, Mike Hawkins out.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We'll see you. Men's Room Happy Hour is up next exclusively on the Odyssey app. Just search for the Men's Room and the Men's Room Happy Hour. Away we go off air. More Men's Rooms coming up.
Yes, indeed. It's all true. But for the next 90 seconds, we be all about this bitch. So until then, please do what you do best. And for Elisa's sake, stay beautiful.
The Men's Room has been taped before a live studio audience. Wardrobe and makeup provided by Mantastic Limited. This has been a presentation of the Men's Room Radio Network. Oh, man! A Double Flush production.
Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Of course you would. And when it comes to great rates on insurance, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners or renters coverage. Plus, add an easy-to-use mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more, and Geico is an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com or contact your local agent today.
Start summer up by mixing things up with top paint and stain brands at Lowe's. Shop HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, Cabot to find the perfect pop of color or classic shade you've been looking for. And don't forget to prep your deck for the season with reliable wood stain and sealer. Now's the perfect time to complete your paint or stain project. Lowe's, all things summer, all at the right price.